Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Impossible Fun in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "I think my FWB has feelings for me. I don't know how to navigate this." So about 6 months ago, I went out for drinks with some friends, one of whom was Chris. Chris and I have known each other since middle school. We were never super close, but we were always good friends, if that makes sense. That night, she got wasted and was being flirted with by another guy in the group who was sober, which sent off alarm bells for me. When we were all walking to our apartments and he lingered instead of heading to his place, I decided to crash on her couch. The next morning, while we were having breakfast, she admitted she found me cute, appreciated what I did the night before, and asked if I'd be interested in a friends with benefits situation. So ever since then, that's what we've been. We'd both just gotten out of relationships at the time, and surprisingly, this arrangement led us to become really close friends. We actually spend more time hanging out just to hang out now than we do getting together specifically for sex. We had a pretty strict no staying the night rule because for her, that felt like crossing a line beyond FWB. But late last month, she asked if I'd stay the night because I just really need someone to cuddle with tonight. I didn't think much of it and agreed, but now every time we're together, one of us ends up staying the night at the other's apartment. She's also started making more openly flirty comments toward me when we're with friends. Another rule we originally set since we wanted to keep things private. The problem is, I don't know if I share her feelings. She's amazing, don't get me wrong, absolutely beautiful, and I work in a field where I'm around models regularly and most of them don't compare. I honestly have no idea why she chose me of all people. She's also brilliant, driven, and one of the kindest people I've ever met. She volunteers at a soup kitchen weekly. I've been incredibly grateful to grow closer to her over the past 6 months. She's one of those rare people you're lucky to meet even once in your life. I know that once feelings get involved, there's no going back to being strictly FWB, but I'd rather get buried alive than hurt her. So I'd love advice on how to handle this. Update. Well, I didn't really expect to have an update this soon, or at all. I suspect it'll be the only one. After the first post, I called her and told her I suspected she had feelings. I was right. I also told her I didn't have feelings and wasn't ready for a relationship, basically out of panic over the situation. Thankfully, it was therapy day. I talked things out with my therapist about how I have serious fears around getting back into a relationship, how those fears made me react too quickly, and how now that things had potentially collapsed, I'd re-examined how I actually feel about her. After therapy, I let myself sit with everything for a while. Then I called her, but the call went to voicemail, so I texted her to say I wanted to talk and hoped we could do it in person if she was open to it. She texted back and said she was willing to meet for dinner to hear me out. So I laid everything out for her, how my last relationship messed me up, how that made me panic when I realized that she had feelings, and how I acted before giving myself time to process. Then I told her how I really feel, that her voice is my favorite sound, that her smile is what I see when I close my eyes, everything. And most importantly, I told her that if she was willing to be patient with me, I wanted to give us a real shot. Anyway, I'm taking her on a proper date this weekend. Update 2. It's been a little over 8 months since I made my first post and update, and the two of us are still together. We moved in together about 2 months ago, which, in my head, feels like a short amount of time to be dating before moving in, but after talking about it, we both agreed it feels like we've been together much longer than 8 months. For several months before that, we were basically dating already. When I made my first post, I was still dealing with the fallout of an incredibly toxic and abusive relationship that had really damaged my ability to trust and allow myself to feel love. I'd be lying if I said that, even with therapy, my trust issues are totally resolved, but she's been so incredibly patient and loving with me. She's genuinely a spectacular human being. This is the first relationship that's ever just felt simple. I don't feel like I have to perform for her, and my walls have finally come down. Shortly after she moved in, she started dropping hints, talking about weddings and wanting to start a family pretty often. I'm usually terrible at picking up hints, but these were obvious even to me. So I asked her directly if those were things she wanted and what kind of timeline she was thinking about. I wanted to be certain that if I proposed, I already knew the answer would be yes. So I was probably overly thorough about getting her to say, yes, I want to marry you. I know she wants something romantic and grand, but I also know she has a lot of social anxiety. We've agreed on a fall wedding, and since I'm a photographer, I know a lot of people in the wedding industry. As long as I propose soon, I'll be able to call in some favors to help her get the wedding of her dreams. I also know her dream vacation spot has always been Italy, a place I visited before for work. Today, I booked the plane tickets. I told her I got a photography gig in March and that I wanted her to come along since I know she's always wanted to go. I had a few options for where to propose, and I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks. I've decided that on our third day there, I'll take her to Rimini for the day. Near sunset, I'll propose to her on the Ferris wheel. It's one of the only places that checked all the boxes for what she's always said she wanted. I would move heaven and earth to make things perfect for her, because that's what she deserves. So thank you all, especially those of you who told me I was being irrational and panicking in my first post. I remember that headspace vividly. Honestly, back then I thought I wasn't worthy of her. I thought I was too damaged and that there had to be some horrible fate waiting for me if I let myself be happy. I tried to run from those feelings, but I'm so grateful to everyone who helped me pause and re-examine things. I've never felt so loved and fulfilled in my life. She's the first person I've ever known who I don't have to question. Someone I truly believe loves me with no ulterior motives. She's beautiful, confident, and could easily find someone else if she wanted to, but for some reason, she's chosen me, and I'm going to hold on to that for the rest of my life if I can. Scalding Hell said, "This guy thought moving in was too fast, but now they're already planning a wedding. That'll go well." Malilik said, "The classic, we're best friends, we sleep together, we're soulmates, but I associate relationships and feelings of love with toxic drama, so I'm confused. I'm not romantically interested, I just want to spend all my time with them, think they're amazing and gorgeous, and fall asleep in each other's arms every night. What do I do?" The second story was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named Alternative Place. The post is titled, "I invited my ex to my graduation. Hey there, my current situation has gotten a bit complicated, but I really can't tell if I did anything wrong, so I wanted to ask here. I, 28F, married my ex-husband, we'll call him Elias, 28M, straight out of high school after dating for 4 years. Our families didn't have much money and college for both of us was impossible, so we talked it through and decided one of us would attend first. We literally flipped a coin and he was the one who got to go. We made a contract, something I wrote by hand since we didn't even have a printer back then, that stated that even if we ended up divorcing, our agreement about helping me attend college would still stand. He attended college locally and both of our parents helped with tuition, books, etc., while I worked to support our household. He graduated and a year later, life got in the way. He started working just as I was preparing to attend college. After another year, he told me he was starting to fall in love with a coworker. We'll call her Lorna. He said he respected and loved me enough not to do anything about it, but maybe we had gotten married too young without really thinking it through. We talked a lot, and although I still loved him, it was true. We had rushed into marriage, and with how busy we both were, it was clear we wouldn't make it work much longer. So we decided to part amicably. He told me not to worry about anything because our agreement still stood. Both sets of parents helped me with tuition and other expenses, and he rented me an apartment near my college and gave me money for utilities and groceries so I wouldn't need to work. Fast forward to this year, I graduated. Elias moved far away for work and is now engaged to Lorna. I also attended college locally, so I still visit his parents and help around the house or keep them company. I received the date for my graduation and was given 4 tickets, but one of my classmates offered me hers too since she was only inviting her parents. Because of that, I started thinking about inviting Elias. So I said yes to the extra tickets. I called him the next day and told him I had an extra ticket and that he could come with his fiancée if he wanted. He was actually really excited and said of course, just to give him the date so he could request time off. We chatted for about 45 minutes and he told me not to worry about the apartment because he'd keep paying rent until I got a job. I thanked him and we hung up. My graduation ceremony was last week. It was wonderful and all my loved ones were there to celebrate. After the ceremony, my ex-in-laws told me they had made a reservation at a restaurant to continue the celebration. At dinner, they gave me a gift and told me that in their hearts, I would always be their daughter. My parents also gave a present and a heartfelt speech. Then Elias handed me a little box. Inside was a beautiful necklace with a pendant shaped like my initial and a small dragonfly. He said he had it custom made. I was really touched by everyone's support, so I got up and gave everyone a hug. When I got to Lorna, I said, "I would hug you too, but only if you want." She laughed and said, "Oh no, I think I'm okay." Then I got to Elias, and when we hugged, he said, "I'm really proud of you, Cricket," and we both laughed. He used to call me Cricket because he said I never shut up. Everybody went home shortly after, and I'm pretty sure Elias and Lorna went back to their city. The thing is, since Tuesday, I've been receiving a ton of DMs and text messages calling me a homewrecker and telling me to take a hint. That if the man moved on, why can't I? They're saying I'm obviously still obsessed with him because I've been single since the divorce and leeching off his kindness. So clearly, someone wasn't happy with our agreement or with the reunion at my graduation. I don't know if these are all fake accounts made by Lorna or if it's her and her friends or just her friends acting on their own, but it's freaking me out. They're basically calling me every name in the book. I talked to my parents about it and they want me to tell Elias's parents so they can put an end to it. But I feel like that would only make things worse. I really have moved on. I think of Elias as my oldest friend now. The reason I've been single all this time is because my courses were really intense and I didn't have the time or energy to date. I also wanted to give myself time to experience being single and living alone. I moved straight from my parents' home in with Elias, so I wanted time to truly be by myself and figure out who I am outside of being married at 18. I'm thinking of changing my phone number and not giving it to Elias. At the same time, I still don't have a job and he's been paying for everything, so it feels wrong to just cut him off completely. Was I really the asshole for inviting him? I honestly never thought it could be disrespectful to Lorna, but maybe it was. I'm just really confused and didn't expect such a harsh reaction over a simple invitation. Update. I didn't expect to have an update so soon, but a lot has happened, so I might as well share. I'll do my best to keep everything as chronological as possible. The morning after I made my last post, I texted Elias. I didn't want to bother his parents with petty drama, especially because I wasn't 100% sure Lorna was the one behind it all. I told Elias that I didn't want to make a big fuss, but ever since they left, I'd been receiving pretty offensive messages with a very clear tone, so it couldn't have been from someone who didn't know about our agreement. He immediately asked me to send him the messages and phone numbers. About 30 minutes later, he called and apologized. He said that one of the numbers belonged to Lorna and the others were her mother's and sister's, but he didn't recognize the rest. He apologized again and told me he'd handle it, so I left it at that. After a couple of hours, I received a new message on WhatsApp from an unknown number asking me if I was happy meddling in another relationship and telling on her, accusing me of trying to ruin her relationship. I forwarded it to Elias and then blocked the number. I didn't hear anything else until 2 days ago when I went to pick up Elias's parents to take them to the mall and found him there. I was confused and asked what was going on. He said we'd talk later. He offered to take his parents instead of me, but they refused, telling him that we had already planned our day and that he wasn't invited. Yesterday, Elias asked if we could talk, and I agreed. We met at a cafe near my apartment. He wanted to talk at my place, but I declined because I didn't think that would be appropriate. When we met, he said he had something to tell me about him and Lorna. I told him it wasn't really necessary, it was their business, but he went on to tell me that he had broken up with her. I was shocked but also curious, so I asked if it was because of the messages, although I found them annoying and disrespectful. I didn't think they'd be enough for him to end his relationship. He said not exactly, but it was the last straw. He told me that he had wanted to move back for a long time to be closer to his parents, but Lorna refused because I was always here. She told him the only way she would move here with him was if he told me to back off, but he couldn't do that because he knew his parents wouldn't allow it. He said they'd actually been having a lot of problems because she was constantly bad-mouthing me and checking my social media even after he told her to stop. I told him he didn't need to tell me anything and he got quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm so sorry." I told him it wasn't really his fault, but he said he was sorry for our divorce. He said his relationship with Lorna hadn't been working for a long time, maybe even from the beginning, but he refused to break up with her because he felt he had to prove something. He said it felt like he needed to stay in that relationship or else our divorce would have been for nothing. He apologized for being too weak to fight for us and admitted that he got scared because all of his friends were living the single dream life and he got jealous. He said he broke up with Lorna because he wasn't even sure if he actually loved her. After my graduation, they went home and she complained the entire trip. Out of frustration when they got home, she tried to break a little dragonfly figurine I made for Elias on our first anniversary. I didn't even know he still had it. He said that's when he got so angry and realized he had to end it because at that point they were just ruining each other's lives. I didn't know what to say, so I just patted his hand and asked him about his job. He said he quit, but his supervisor told him to think it through and gave him 2 or 3 weeks of vacation. So he's spending the holidays here. I told him not to dwell too much on the past and to just move forward, because what else can you really say to that? Anyway, our parents apparently already made plans to spend Christmas together, and even my sister is coming from another city, so that's nice, though it's giving me a bit of anxiety. I think that's all for now. I don't think anything significant will happen after this, but I'll update again if something changes. Happy holidays, and thank you for all the support and advice I received here. Weekly Click said, Lorna is insecure because she knows she played games with a married man and she could lose her boyfriend the same way she got him. To this, Sunshine said, indeed. Although I can understand her feeling hurt after what his parents said, it wasn't cool to say that right in front of her. It seems like this was just the straw that broke her mask in front of OP. I wonder if the parents disliked Lorna and that's why they had no problem saying it. Regardless, Lorna is a terrible person who could have just asked for reassurance about her place in his life like a normal adult.